Ever feel like the job market's stuck between like a calculator and a computer?
Hmm.
Well, get ready to decode that because today we're diving into the world of tax clerks.
Okay.
You've given us a stack of info from RoleCatcher.
Yeah.
So you're obviously not just looking for the Taxation for Dummies version here.
Right. The material you've shared suggests you're after the inside scoop, what this role really entails now, not just a textbook definition.
Exactly. So let's ditch the dusty stereotypes.
Okay.
If someone walked up to you today and said, "What does a tax clerk really do in this digital age?" How would you sum it up?
I'd say they're the Sherlocks of the financial world.
Okay.
But instead of deerstalker hats, they've got software and algorithms as their magnifying glasses.
Mm-hmm.
They're combing through data, making sure all the financial I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but increasingly doing it with some serious digital firepower.
Okay, that's way more interesting than rows of filing cabinets.
Right.
RoleCatcher mentioned this blend of analytical and administrative work.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example from the guide of how that plays out in a real-world scenario?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They gave a great example of a junior tax clerk who used their analytical skills to spot an error in a company's tax filing, an error that could have cost them a hefty penalty.
Ooh, scary.
But here's the thing. They didn't just flag the issue.
Right.
They used their communication skills to explain it clearly to the company's management, effectively saving them thousands.
Wow, that's a serious win, proving it's not just about being a numbers whiz, but also a communication pro.
Exactly.
So it's like attention to detail meets diplomacy.
Exactly. And with technology playing a bigger role, a tax clerk needs to be comfortable navigating different software and systems.
Right?
Imagine a day in the life where they're pulling data from cloud-based platforms, running it through analytical software, and then creating reports all before lunch.
Okay, no more picturing someone hunched over a calculator all day. This tech savviness factor. Was there anything in RoleCatcher that surprised you about how AI is specifically changing the game?
One thing that stood out was their mention of AI-powered auditing tools.
Okay.
Apparently, these tools can analyze massive data sets way faster than any human, flagging potential discrepancies or red flags that a tax clerk can then investigate further. It's like having an AI assistant that helps you focus your expertise where it's most needed.
That's incredible. So it's not about replacing the human element, but about giving tax clerks superpowers.
Right.
Now let's get real. Knowing all this, what's the honest pros and cons list look like? Would you recommend this career path?
It's a field with a lot to offer, especially in terms of stability.
Okay.
RoleCatcher actually cited a statistic about how the demand for tax professionals consistently outpaces supply, even with automation.
Wow.
People and businesses will always need help navigating the ever-changing world of taxes.
That's reassuring. Taxes aren't going anywhere anytime soon, are they? So job security is a big plus.
Yeah.
What about salary potential? Did RoleCatcher shed any light on that?
They did. They highlighted that while starting salaries can vary, the earning potential for experienced tax clerks, especially those with specialized certifications, can be quite lucrative.
Okay.
They even mentioned a figure senior tax clerks, on average, earn a figure significantly higher than the national average.
Oh, wow.
Though, it's worth noting that this can vary depending on location and experience.
Okay, so there's definitely room for growth.
Yeah.
But let's be real, it can't all be rainbows and tax returns. What about the downsides? RoleCatcher mentions stress. Is it really that intense?
They weren't kidding about tax season.
Okay.
It's a bit like the Super Bowl for tax clerks. All hands on deck, deadlines looming, and the pressure is on.
Yeah.
But even outside of tax season, dealing with complex regulations and ensuring accuracy can be demanding. Think of it like being a detective constantly on the lookout for clues.
Right.
Sometimes those clues are hidden in mountains of paperwork.
So you need the patience of a saint and the organizational skills of a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher also mentioned those all-important customer service skills. Give us the lowdown. What kind of interactions are we talking about?
Think about it. You're the bridge between complex tax codes and people who just want to file their taxes correctly. You're explaining things clearly, answering questions patiently, maybe even calming someone down who's stressed about a tax bill. It's a lot of human interaction, even if you're surrounded by spreadsheets.
So you're not just dealing with numbers, but with people's emotions and anxieties tied to those numbers.
Right.
Okay, let's say someone listening is ready to embrace the challenge. They've got their calculator and their customer service smile ready.
Okay, great.
What does the career ladder look like?
RoleCatcher provided a really insightful breakdown. It's not just about climbing a ladder, but about expanding your skill set at each rung.
Okay.
Starting as an entry-level tax clerk is like building your foundation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break down those early stages for us. What does someone fresh out of the gate actually do? Okay, I'm intrigued. Break down those early stages for us. What does someone fresh out of the gate actually do?
Think of it like being an apprentice. You're learning the ropes, mastering the software, getting familiar with those tax forms that make most people break out in a cold sweat.
Yeah, I know the ones.
You might be assisting with data entry, organizing files, but crucially, you're observing and absorbing how things work in the real world.
So it's a lot of on-the-job learning. Did RoleCatcher offer any tips for standing out even in those early stages?
They stress the importance of being proactive.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't just wait for tasks to be assigned. Volunteer for projects, ask questions, show that you're eager to learn and contribute. They even suggested seeking out additional training or certifications early on to build a strong foundation.
So even as an entry-level tax clerk, you've got to be hungry to learning bro.
Yeah,
Now, once you've mastered those basics, what's next on this career climb?
that's where you step into the junior tax clerk role.
Okay.
Now, you're not just assisting, you're taking on more responsibility.
Uh-huh.
You might be preparing basic tax documents, reviewing financial records, even doing some light research on tax laws.
So it's less about following instructions and more about independent work.
Exactly. They gave an example of a junior tax clerk who impressed their manager by independently researching a new tax credit that the company could be eligible for. It's about going beyond the task list and showing initiative.
Okay. I can see how that would get you noticed. They're not just crunching numbers, they're thinking strategically.
Right.
What happens next in this progression? When do you officially lose that junior title?
Well, becoming a full-fledged tax clerk is a big step.
Okay.
You're entrusted with more complex tasks, like preparing and reviewing those intricate tax documents, conducting in-depth research on specific tax laws. You're becoming a go-to resource for your team.
So it's less about learning the ropes and more about knowing how to tie those ropes into intricate knots.
That's a great way to put it. You're not just following procedures, you're starting to understand the why behind them, the nuances of tax law, and how it all fits together.
And that expertise leads to, what's the peak of this mountain we're climbing?
At the summit, you have the senior tax clerk. This is where it all comes together.
Okay.
You're managing teams, developing tax strategies, building relationships with clients. You're a trusted advisor, a mentor, and a leader in your field.
The guru of all things tax-related. Did RoleCatcher happen to have any inspiring stories about people who've reached these heights?
They did. They profiled a senior tax clerk who started as an intern right out of high school.
Wow.
Through hard work, continuous learning, and a knack for building relationships, they worked their way up to leading a team of tax professionals. It's a testament to how far dedication and a passion for this field can take you.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about the day-to-day, the pros and cons, and even how the career progresses.
Right.
But let's get down to brass tacks, actually landing that tax clerk job. What kind of interview gauntlet are we prepping for?
RoleCatcher has a treasure trove of insights on this, thankfully. They actually broke down the most common tax clerk interview questions,
Oh, good.
so you're not caught off guard.
Give us a sneak peek. What kind of questions should we be ready to hit out of the park?
We'll be prepared to explain those key tax concepts, like the difference between tax credits and deductions, which often trips people up. They want to see you can not only define these terms, but also explain their practical implications.
So it's not just about parroting definitions. You need to show you understand how it all works in the real world. What about those curveball questions they throw in to see how you think on your feet?
They love to test your problem-solving skills.
Right.
Be prepared for scenario-based questions, like you're reviewing a tax return and notice a discrepancy. What do you do? This is your chance to shine, showing your analytical thinking and attention to detail.
Right, because anyone can memorize definitions, but applying that knowledge under pressure is key.
Right.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI tools come in, right? I'm dying to hear how they can help us ace these interviews.
Oh, absolutely. Their AI is like having a secret weapon in your back pocket.
Okay.
But we'll unpack all of that and more after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
And we're back, refreshed and ready to crunch some final numbers on our tax clerk deep dive.
I'm excited to bring it all together.
Before the break, we were geeking out on RoleCatcher's Copilot AI. It's like having a career coach, a resume writer, and a tech guru all rolled into one.
Don't forget the built-in confidence booster.
Right. Knowing you've got those AI-powered tools in your arsenal Has to take the edge off those job search jitters.
Absolutely. But even beyond the tech, there were some key takeaways from RoleCatcher that I think are pure gold for anyone considering this path.
Hit us with those golden nuggets of wisdom.
First and foremost, remember that the world of taxes is constantly evolving. New laws, new technologies, it's a dynamic field. So embrace lifelong learning. Never stop seeking out new knowledge, whether it's through professional development courses, industry publications, or even just geeking out on the latest tax software.
It's like they say, the only constant is change, especially in the tax universe.
Exactly. And speaking of change, don't be afraid to embrace technology. We talked about how AI is transforming the role of a tax clerk, but that's not a bad thing. See it as an opportunity to upskill, to focus on those higher-level tasks that require human expertise.
So it's less about competing with robots and more about becoming the robot whisperer.
I love that analogy. And finally, remember that this is a field driven by relationships. Whether it's building rapport with clients, collaborating with colleagues, or even networking with other professionals, those human connections are invaluable.
It's like they say, teamwork makes the dream work, especially when you're tackling those complex tax forms.
Absolutely. So be open to connecting with others, sharing knowledge, and building a strong professional network.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of tax clerks. We've debunked myths, explored exciting career paths, and even unlocked the secrets to a successful job search with RoleCatcher. A huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise with us and for breaking down this often misunderstood career path.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to you, dear listener, thank you for joining us on this adventure into the ever-evolving world of tax clerks. Remember, the path to a fulfilling career is paved with curiosity, continuous learning, and a dash of AI-powered magic. Until next time, happy number crunching.